Hello Internet, this video is part of the Jeep Project playlist on Scott's Garage, where I've been doing a complete frame-off restoration of our 1946 Willys CJ2A. Now this video is also part of a new playlist called Wiring Harness Playlist. There'll be about 7 videos I think total on this, and in these videos I'm using a kit sold by Kaiser Willys Auto Supply. You can get 10% off this exact kit by using my discount code SGarage upon checkout. Now I did a complete out-of-box review of this kit and I'll show you the link here above. Now this video is part 1 of 3 of simply wiring in what's called the main wiring harness, which you can see part of it here in the engine bay. It goes through the firewall and then behind the dash, and then the right side harness, which likewise is behind the dash but then also goes through the firewall back to the engine bay, and it takes 3 videos to show you all the detail. In the 3rd video, there's a smaller harness that's for the voltage regulator and the generator. Keep watching. So here is the proper hole through the firewall that the main wiring harness goes through. I've labeled it here. And I had a grommet put in there. I've taken the grommet out. You have to make a choice. Do you want to feed from the dash side through back to the engine compartment or the other way around? And I've opted basically to feed it from the engine compartment this direction. And the reason I took this grommet out is that the largest part is right here, and this happens to be the socket for the dash light. And if you take the grommet out, it easily goes through the hole. So I'm just going to be back feeding this and getting it all in place, and then I'll put the grommet back in place. Basically, everything goes through to about here. This will remain in the engine bay, and the rest will not. And I'm going to take off this one clamp here, because that's going to go on the other side, and I'll remove it for now. Okay, so got everything that goes through the firewall into the dash in place, and you can see that there are 3 of the metal clamps that hold the harness in place. These 2 go on the fender, which isn't in place right now. But I'm going to use this one right here, and just for your reference, there are female threads or like a built-in nut right here, if you can see that. And it happens to be a number 10 screw with 24 count threads. And so I'm just going to use this one right here and put it in place for now. May have to adjust a little bit as I get the fender on, but for now I'm just going to put it in place here. All right, there we go. Now I have all the original gauges, but I discovered through just testing them that 3 of the 4 gauges, main gauges, were not working. So I decided to order all new gauges through Kaiser Willys Auto Supply, and that's what this kit is here. Again, it contains all of them. Odometer, starting with 0, of course, and oil pressure gauge, and here is the fuel gauge, and this is the ammeter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire in the ammeter, at least one of the sides, and I believe it is the positive side. And I don't know if the brackets for the gauges are the same size or not. So I'm just going to label each of these. So if I go back and grab the bracket, I know that this one is amp. So I'm simply going to label it amp. Take it out here. Okay, there's the amp meter. I'm not going to be attaching yet. I'll be attaching the wires and everything in place before I actually physically attach the instruments. But I'll need a nut and a washer for the back side. And there's actually several wires that will hook to the ammeter when all is said and done, but for now we just need one. So the first gauge that we're going to wire is the ammeter, and according to the schematic on that main coming in, it is the 14 gauge black with 2 red tracers. So that is this one. So that's 14 gauge, and it's black with the 2 red tracers. And it goes on, it says the right side. So the question is orientation. Are we talking about right side of the vehicle? Then that would be on the back side, the left post. And I think that's the correct orientation. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you know better than I do. And so how we're going to do that is simply run this wire up through the dash. The ammeter fits right here. And there's going to be other wires that attach. So I'm simply going to put the lead there and put a washer in place and the nut. Just going to hand tighten it for now. And I'm just going to let that dangle there. So next I'm going to wire up the original headlight switch, which is right here. I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, but it is original. I thought I would try to see if it would work. Now I realize that the knob itself is really faded and really should be painted. I'll probably do that later. However, in looking at this, it is marked. So there is a T, and that's for tail light, H for headlight, and P for parking light, I believe. Yeah, park light, tail light, headlight. And then there's this here, which is a little circuit breaker. And on the circuit breaker side, there is the battery side, and then there is auxiliary. So on the main, these wires are all together here. They're like the only ones that have a terminal end on them, approximately the same length. And so we have a blue with 3 white tracer, a yellow with 1 black tracer, and a red with 1 tracer. And then over here we have a red and a green put together, green with white tracer. And so in looking at the schematic, first of all, for the light switch, so we're going to go with the yellow with 1 black tracer, and that is the park light. So here is the yellow with 1 black tracer, and on my switch, the park light is right back here on the back side. And I believe you keep, there's like a little star nut there. You keep that with the screw. So we're going to place the terminal end there. Get a little bit bigger head on there. Love this screwdriver. My son gave it to me. And it's a very expensive screwdriver. It's like 70 bucks for this. But it was a gift, and it's really good quality. There we go. Don't want to strip it. Okay, the next wire on the main is the red wire, 1 white tracer, and this is the tail light terminal end. Okay, there's the red wire, 1 white tracer, tail light. And according to this, that's this one right here. Red wire, white tracer. Okay, here it is. I don't know if I should go on the inside. I'll try the inside. Oh, it should be on this side, I think. Okay, nice and tight. Third wire on this schematic for the light switch is the blue with 2 white tracers, and this is the headlight terminal. There's the blue, 2 white, and that says H if you can read it. Should have some better lighting here. This one's missing the little star washer. Hope that's not a problem. Again, I don't know if this is working or not. We acquired the Jeep after it had been sitting in a field for probably 20, 25 years. Okay, now the last thing would be the circuit breaker inside terminal. So this is the green with the 1 white tracer, and this also serves as auxiliary. So I'm pretty sure it's this one. So it's the green with the 1 white tracer, and then this will be auxiliary. So I guess probably like the heater or things like that this would be the hot side for the auxiliary. So I'm going to have to cap that if I'm not hooking it to anything. But for now, it goes, so the outside is battery, the inside here is the auxiliary. This does have the little washer keeper. That's just a lock washer. And this is a nut I'm going to use. This is bigger than 5/16. So it must be 3/8. Yep. Socket probably would be better. This is what I had handy. Get tight without stripping it. Okay. Again, I'm just going to let it hang down. I'll have to pull this off. It goes right over here. Okay, looking at the schematic, and I realize this can be confusing depending on orientation. So I'm standing on the driver's side, looking at the dash, but this page is the opposite. So basically, this would be like if the Jeep was facing this way, engine side, and then right in here, the firewall, and then the dash side again if the Jeep was facing this way. But that's not my orientation, but I get it. So these wires here on the very end, which correspond with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're at the termination of the main harness. So that's what I just hooked up with the headlight. So that's numbers 1 through 5. Actually, yeah, 5. 6 is the ammeter. So we're now on 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And those basically are terminal ends here, female, that will connect to the wiring. You have to picture the steering column and then turn signals. I don't have those yet. So they're just going to stay here. They're not hurting anything. And then as we go further back, so that corresponds here with 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And those are to rear harness, and you match the colors. So I'm going to simply show you up here. So those are these ends, female ends right here. In essence, the wiring harness that goes to the tail light, and I think I said it incorrectly in my opening video. So the tail light harness you hook it in here and you have to basically go back through the firewall, and then it goes down and it goes to the back of the Jeep. Likewise, I'm not going to do those yet. So those are safely just going to stay there. So what I'm going to do next is move on to the other wires, and basically it's going to be what's called the right side harness. So the right side would be the passenger side, and the right side harness is going to come in here. It's going to connect to some of the gauges with common wires here, and then basically the right side harness will go back through the firewall, and it joins to the components over here, including the coil and alternator or generator, excuse me, and that. So again, we're gonna switch gears here, and we're now going to install the right side harness. Okay, I'm going to install now what's called the right side harness, and this is the right side harness. And one end of the harness stays on the engine side, the other side goes through the firewall onto the dash side. And looking at the sheet here, it is the correct orientation as we're looking at the Jeep. So the left side starting with 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's the dash side. And then 5, 6, 7 is on the engine side. And if you look at number 2, it shows that it comes up. And what that means is that it's doubled up. So you can see that's a red wire here. And number 2 goes to the ammeter left terminal. And so again, that's on that side. So I think that the best way, and then these go on the engine side, and the one that has this nice end on it here, that is starter switch battery size. That goes down there. So I think the easiest way for me is to basically put these through the grommet down here. And there's some grommets. Let me get a better position here. So 2 right here, and the left side is the emergency brake. The right side, it's this grommet right here that we go through. So I'm just going to, again, backfeed these through. There we go. So that'll go down here. This will go on the fender here. There is a clamp or a place for a clamp right there. I don't know if that's what this is supposed to be or not. I'll find out here shortly. There we go. Nice and tight. This will go with the voltage regulator once I get the fender on. Okay, so we're on the dash side, so this is passenger side, that's the driver's side. So we're going to hook up now the remaining wires on the ammeter. And again, I'll have to go behind the dash and have them come out here. So we're going to use the orientation that the right side is this side, the passenger side, left side is the driver's side. And according to the schematic here, on the right side, which is the passenger side, we want the black wire with the 2 white tracers. So that is this one right here. And so I'm going to go behind here and have to loosen this nut that I only hand tightened before. There's a washer there. And try to get the flattest side down so those are tightly together. There we go. washer nut. I don't see any reason why I can't tighten these, but I'll get the other side, left side on first, and I'll tighten them. Okay, so now we're going to attach to the left side, which is the driver's side, and that is the red with the 3 white tracers. So if you notice here, it's doubled up, and that means that then part of it, and that's what corresponds to number 2 here, the longer end is going to go to the circuit breaker outside terminal, and so that's going to go up above and around, but I have to pull this wire up and through. There it is. I need to go on the other side and get the proper nut and washer for that. Tight, don't over tighten. That's probably good. Okay. Then eventually I'll get the bracket in there. And this will go just like that. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so there is one more black down here, and it corresponds to number 4. So black with 2 white tracers, and it goes to the ignition switch coil or ignition terminal. So I do have an ignition switch right here, and it has accessory, battery, ignition, so it would be the ignition here. So I'm going to back off that nut. Again, my guess is there'll be other leads coming in here, so I'm just going to hand tighten it for now. And this one, I'll take off the nuts and stuff. You can do that from the inside, so I'm not going to worry about the outside at this point. I know it's not tight, but I don't want to lose that nut either. So a little more than hand tight. That's good enough for now. So the last thing is the red wire, the longer one, and that's where it terminates. So that's number 1. Light switch circuit breaker outside terminal. So we'll go back to the other side and the light switch. Okay, here's that red wire. I need to snake it over here above the brackets. Again, here's the light switch, and so grab this. Light switch circuit breaker outside. So that's going to be this one right here. I don't want to do that too much, so scratch up the dash. Hey, that's it for part 1. If you got any value at all from part 1, please give me a like. It costs you nothing, but is a great value to me. Now in part 2 of wiring the main harness and the right side harness, I'll be wiring most of the instrument gauges in the dash. And then part 3, we'll go back through the firewall and I'll show you how to wire the coil and the generator and so forth. See you in the next video.